Good afternoon and welcome to this webinar about the Aquafada's digital publishing solution. Today we are going to look into the process of transforming an existing print publication into a digital publication. So we will use the plugin to create content that can be distributed either through an app or through some standard bookstore in ePUB format. And all of that we will do from an existing InDesign document that was not specifically designed to be a digital document, but was just a print document. So before we get started, we just want to remind you where you can go get all those fancy tools that we will use today. So everything happens on avpublishing.aquafadas.com. This is the main website, where you can, you have to actually create an account, it's free. And from the homepage, you have a download section where you can get all the tools. So you'll have the Aquafadas plugin for InDesign, Mac version, Windows version. And you also can get the test tools that we use to test the content on the iPad. So this test bench is called myKiosk, and you can get it either from the App Store, or you can also get an installer, which is a nice new tool that I'll show you in just right now, that lets you install the very latest version of myKiosk either on your device or on your iOS simulator if you have one. So that's a new way to make sure that you have the latest version of myKiosk on your devices. I also want to mention before we start that there is a new page on the Aquafadas website called, if you go to support documentation, actually there is a documentation about the digital plugin, which you can download either as a PDF in English, or you can also navigate through the web. You can see all the various sections, go to the various enrichments and find all the information online about the plugin and how to use it. That being said, we'll jump into our today's webinar and create some documents. Because it's an introduction webinar, I will quickly go through the various components that compose the digital publishing suite that we built. So when you open InDesign here in InDesign, I'm using CS6. There is an AV publishing menu which gives you access to the two palettes that we have built. One of them is called the Project Manager, and the other one is called AV Interactivity. You notice that when you open launching of the palette, you have to enter a login and a password. This is the account credentials that you must have created when you download our tools. It's the same account. So this is my project manager. I apologize for it being displayed in French, and I hope you'll forgive me for that, and it won't disturb you too much. Basically, the plugin launches in whatever locale of InDesign you're using, and I have a French installed version. But of course, it's going to run in English on your machine. So the project manager is basically where you will build your projects, and projects can consist in many files, many InDesign files that are combined into one single document that we call the document, and we call all the individual files articles. So for example, if I look at this project, it consists in 2 articles, each of these articles is an InDesign document. On the left, you have the list of projects. On the right, you have the structure of your projects. And then you have some actions that can be used to actually generate, test your projects. Below the list of projects, you have a number of actions that are very useful. The first of which is, of course, creating a new project. And then you have import and export, which is very nice if you want to transfer all your projects or one project to someone else. So you can continue work on it, and this preserves everything, the enrichments, the links, everything is in there. It's completely packaged. Here is a duplicate action that you can use to duplicate, say, a template project if you want to move quicker on the second document that you do. I'm not going to talk about this part here, which is a little bit more advanced. So that's the frame of our work, and my initial document, the one I want to work with, is this document, which is coming from print. Let's close that. And basically, it's a few pages of magazine. So actually, let's just recreate it here. Okay, so that's the that's my document in here. It's going to take a few seconds to display. Right, here it is. So back in InDesign, what I will do is I will create a project that lets me work with this document. And so I will hit the plus button to create a new project. And I will call that project style PDF mag. And one of the first things that you have to choose when you create a project is the type of project, and we support two types. One of which is suitable when you start from a document that has not been created for digital, that has not been created to match the size of a particular screen or the aspect ratio of a particular screen. That's the situation we're in because this is a print document and really it hasn't been created with any screen in mind. The other type, so that's the AV PDF style, which is sort of saying, basically I have a PDF on which I will add enrichments. The other style is dedicated to creating content that is more suited for displaying on a tablet or a smartphone, so the pages have been designed really to match the size of the phone. We'll create that later on, and I will first start with the first option. So I create my new project. As you can see, the structure shows me an empty panel. So I have to start importing my InDesign document. Here it is. It takes a few seconds, but it should display all the pages thumbnails. It's probably computing them at the moment. So you see here they appear. The first two at least. If I want more, then I had to click on this link, and it will open the preferences for InDesign, letting me choose how many thumbnail I want to see in my previews. So here is my document. It's been opened in the background. What I could do now is simply generate the project as is and see and test what I get. So I won't do it, but I will show you the result on an iPad. So I have an iPad in my hands, and I will send the video signal to the screen. And this is basically the document that I would get by exporting this file without doing anything. So essentially what you see is there's a little bit of a lag when I turn pages because of the video copying. But what I get essentially is a PDF. So I can zoom into the pages. I have some images. I can turn the device, so I see the spreads. I can zoom in, etc. I can navigate like that. This is essentially a PDF reader. I have some options if I want, for example, to ensure that I see only half spreads when I'm horizontal. So I have a nice PDF reader for my document. Okay, now let's start and add some interactivity to this document that we've just imported into the tool. And the first thing I want to do before I actually do anything is look at this links tab. As you can see, when I imported the document, I didn't really look at how the document was, where it was coming from, and some links are broken. This is standard in InDesign when you have broken links. What I will use is one of the features of the project manager, which is called relinking. So I can relink. I simply specify the root folder where my InDesign document was stored, and you see there is a linked folder that probably contains all the images. So I just say relink, and it will relink all the images. Of course, I could use the inbuilt InDesign function to do that, but the advantage of this one is that if I have some enrichments like slideshows or videos, and InDesign doesn't know about them, these are custom objects, so it doesn't know that, for example, an image link has been broken. But the plugin, of course, knows. So by using this function, you will not only relink all the InDesign assets that InDesign knows about, but also all the assets that InDesign doesn't know about. So after doing that, I can check that my links are all correct now. Let's add some interactivity to that document. The first thing I want to do in that document is work on this image and turn it into a slideshow. To do that, I select the block and I go to the Interactivity Palette. So the Interactivity Palette is the place where you will find all the nice and interactivity elements that we provide to spice up the reading of your document. There are two parts to this palette. One which is with gray icons. These are the standard icons that come with the component, with the plugin as you download it for free. And then there are a couple of colored icons which are premium enrichments, which you can buy on an annual license base. Most of them are actually very cheap to use. You'll find some games, you'll find various advanced components there, and simply go on our website, buy them, and as you connect to your account, it will recognize that you've bought them and it will enable them for you. So what I will do first is turn that image into a slideshow. Slideshow is here. I have two options to choose from. I will go for the simple slideshow. And then I enter the sort of main screen, configuration screen for the slideshow. Most of the enrichments that we propose have a sort of same layout for the screen, where you have at the top some common options, like giving a name to the element, etc. And at the bottom you have the enrichment specific parts. In our case, it's a slideshow, so we somehow need to choose some images, which we can choose from here. And I have a folder with some images. I will pick. So I pick 3 images. You can also drag and drop images. And so the images I've chosen, they appear on the left. I can reorder them, of course. And I have a preview of what I will get in my slideshow. As you can see, because I have a specific aspect ratio for this block, the preview reproduces that aspect ratio through a mask. So I can use that mask to choose exactly which part of the image I want to see. By default, the mask is set to show the most of the image. In the case of this image, maybe I want to do something a bit more interesting, and we'll choose some custom effect, a custom Kanban, which will let me move from an initial point of view to a sort of final point of view. So it will actually create a zoom effect from the start, which is in green, to the end, which is in red, and do it in 1 second, which is too fast. So let's make it 5 seconds. Most of the timing are given in milliseconds, so you have to be careful with the numbers you enter. So this is a very simple configuration for a slideshow. I can also activate full screen. This is a global option for the slideshow. And every element can have some actions, which I will show on another element later. So actions are really used to create interactivity by letting you tap on an element and create some, well, really some behavior after some actions as a result of tapping on the element. So for example, I could, on this particular image, choose to create an action for the reader to open a web page, send them an email, whatever. The actions can apply to either the reader, to a specific layer, so you can actually instruct a layer to become visible, become invisible, or to a specific object. We'll see that later on another example where we use an action to really trigger something specific on a video. So if I want, for example, to open a web page, I simply instruct the reader, because it's a reader action really, to open a web page. I can give an address. For example, and decide whether it leaves the app or stays inside the document. So that's a first interactivity that I've created here. The second interactivity that I want to create is simply a Kanban effect on that image. So a Kanban is simply by choosing the image interactivity, it gives me a lot of options about how this image should be rendered into the page. I can go full screen, or I can use a Kanban effect here. Simply activate the Kanban effect and give it some timing information, and it will render this image with Kanban. So let's see how we actually test that, what we've just done. So testing means generating a project, which is achieved through that button. You can also, from here, do preview, and it will generate what needs to be generated and then send it to the device. But we do it in 2 steps. So I choose to generate the project, and here I get a dialog that gives me basically the 2 main output options, output routes that I have from the plugin. You can go either to a format that lets you go in an application. So this is supported by our format called AVE, and or I can go to a standard format that maybe has less possibilities, but still is a standard that I can then distribute on iBook Store, Amazon, etc. And that format is ePUB. We will start by looking at creating an AVE file. The AVE file then has to be distributed through an app, which I won't cover today, but there are webinars already about that subject, and I'm sure we'll have more in the future. So hitting the generate button will tell me what needs to be generated, in our case everything, because it's the first time we run that project, and it will go through the images, the content itself, and generate an AV file, which is essentially an XML file with a bunch of media that have been optimized. As you can see, Photoshop has been started, so the plugin is controlling Photoshop to do all the image resizing in the background. So depending on how many pages you have, this can take a little bit of a time. So one way to reduce that is to split your document into several articles. So here, for example, I have 7 pages in my first article. Maybe I would create another article for the next pages, etc. So I could move into my document, and only what has been changed, maybe in the last article I'm working with, is going to be generated. So the document is ready. If you click on that banner, you will you will enter a website that tells you what to do with your document now. Obviously, I invite you to do it, but we are now very eager to see the document inside the iPad. So here is my iPad. Here is myKiosk. As you can see, myKiosk has already some documents. If I click on the little button at the top, it gives me the IP address of myKiosk. This is interesting because I can send document directly by using a browser and connecting to that address. I will get a user interface that lets me upload into my iPad very easily. But it's even easier from here. Simply by clicking on the test button, it will try to find on the network all the instances of myKiosk that are running. So here I'm expecting to see the iPad mini. It's not there, so I simply run it again, test again. Sometimes it can take here it is. So I'm sending the document to the iPad mini. Which should receive it. So here the transfer is proceeding. This is a small document, but probably my network is not that great, so takes a little while. So we'll wait for that document to arrive. Okay. So here it is. So as you can see, this is the document that has the Kanban effect. It's a bit choppy because of the AirPlay connection. I can ensure that on the iPad it's very smooth. Here is my slideshow. As you can see, the third image has this little Kanban effect that I set up. If I double tap, I go full screen. And I think the first image had a link to the Aquafadas website. This is the action that I set up. So this has been reproduced here. Right. There is one more thing I want to do in this document before moving to another type of transformation of digital document is activate guided reading. Guided reading is a way to work with document on smaller screen or to enhance the reading experience for your users. Essentially, guided reading works as follows. You simply define a path through the text boxes, through the pages, and on the iPad or on the iPhone, it will help the user by doing that path to read the document in a very comfortable manner. To create guided reading, you can either do it manually, which I will do now, or use an automatic option that's fairly well described in the documentation. That is based on styles. Since all the boxes are nested together, it can infer the path through the various stories rather automatically, but I will do it manually. So I select the first box and I use Smart Reading. So it will construct a list of elements that are sort of to be traversed in a specific order. Here I have a first element, which is this box. I can add a new element, select it by simply clicking here, add a new one. This one. I can also add images. So I can select, for example, this image to be part of it. Then I can move to another page, etc., etc. This can be done manually or automatically. The result, I'm not going to export it. I will simply show you what I do get on the iPad. Is the following. If I zoom into the text, you will see that a new user interface appears at the bottom with arrows. I can still move around, it doesn't matter. If I use the arrow, I enter guided reading. And by simply tapping on the right arrow, it will move forward through the various blocks. This little button at the far left lets me restart from the beginning of the article. Looking at the same thing on the iPhone, if I double tap here, I go into guided reading. I can adjust my zoom factor if I want. And it will adjust the progression based on the screen size. As you can see, it moves through the pages. Suppose that I rotate my iPhone. I go back to guided reading. It will adjust the path so that I can read very comfortably the content. So this is one way to actually enhance a document very, very easily. The last thing I want to show in that document is how you would, for example, add a video. So I will add a video here via a button. To do that, I simply create a new box for my button. I will insert an image for the button. So I have a nice play image that's ready here. And I will add a video. What I will do is I will make the video play in full screen. So I will set up my video object so that it is invisible in the page, but when I click on the button, it appears in full screen. To do that, I will first of all configure the video object. So clicking on that invisible box, then selecting video from my interactivity panel, I will choose a file that has the video. As you can see here, I have the choice between choosing a file or streaming from a web address. Here, just choosing a file. I have a video here. And here is the path of my video. And I will say that it's full screen only. So this is how you set up a video object. It's going to be invisible because there is no image here. And the only thing I need to do now is to set up the button so that it plays the video. So to do that, I will select my button and turn it into a real button, because currently it's only a block with an image. So I turn it into a button. Buttons are really objects that simply trigger actions when they are tapped. So I can create many actions here that will be triggered when the button is tapped. And the action I want to create, in my case, is I want to talk to this box here, this video, and ask this box to play. So instead of talking to the reader, I will select a block. So by choosing this option, I have a new button that lets me actually pick an object from the page, this one, which has this ID. And then because it recognizes that it's a video object, it shows all the actions I can do on video, like toggle, stop, play. That's the French word for play. So I will choose play. So now my button is configured to talk to this object, which is invisible, and ask it to play. Because the object plays only in full screen, it will actually display the video. Of course, if I would not, haven't set my objects to play in full screen, the video will appear very small here in this box. So this is how basically you set up a video. I will show how it renders later on in the demo. So I have another file that has the same setup. Now we've seen one way to create an interactive document, which is to create document from based on a print document and do nothing but add interactivity to existing pages without modifying them. One other way to work, and you've probably seen a number of magazines working like that, is where you actually recreate a layout from scratch, essentially, by and make that layout really fit on the screen of, say, an iPad, an iPhone. So this is what we are going to show next. I will create a new project, and this time, instead of choosing AVPDF as I've chosen before, I will choose AVMag, and I will call that that's the name of my project, and I will choose. Feel very open. So my project. How do we do that? So AVMag, and I will choose horizontal and vertical. So now I have a new project which is empty, and in order to work with a magazine with this new type, I could import an InDesign document directly, but my document is currently has not an aspect ratio that matches an iPad, so I really want to create something new from scratch. So I will create new articles one by one. And because each article is supported by an InDesign document, I need to specify where I want to save them. I create a folder and save the first article, which I call cover, because this is going to contain my cover. So I have now a new article cover, and I have two thumbnails, one for the horizontal, one for the vertical. I will add a new article on the side, called maybe article 1. And I can add pages to this article by using that button, or from the article itself by using the pages palette. So this can be very lengthy, so I will just show you how to proceed essentially. But let's assume I want to create that cover. I have here the horizontal layout, and I can at any time switch between the horizontal and the vertical by using the option at the bottom of my Interactivity Palette. So if I choose vertical, I see the vertical page. Now, what I will probably do is go to my print document, which is here, and select everything that's on that page. Go to my cover and paste. So doing that, I have a first version of my vertical document. Of course, you need to adjust things properly, and if I turn to horizontal, this is how it looks. It's probably all over the place. So I would have to do some work here to adjust the size of my images to match the size of my page. Oops. Do some proper centering, etc. adjust all the boxes so that they fit, etc. So you can see that everything that appears in vertical also appears in horizontal, but I can modify the geometry of the elements separately. So I can, if I look at my vertical, it hasn't changed because I've moved the horizontal. On the other hand, if I change something in the text, of course, this is reproduced in all orientations. So I can edit once and propagate the changes everywhere. So this is how I would proceed by building my magazine. I won't do it here. I will show you what I've produced as a preparation of this tutorial. So here I have my magazine. I have created 2 articles so far. So this is the first one. I created a horizontal and a vertical version. And here is the second one. Here is the horizontal version, and here is the vertical. So similar elements, but just reorganized in terms of their geometry. I've also enriched some of the elements. So this is basically the magazine way of displaying content. And if I export that document to my iPad, here we start. I will show you the difference between an AV PDF and an AV Mag. This iPad mini. So we're looking at this document. There was a little animation here. I will show you how it was done. But what's interesting is to see the layout of the magazine. Instead of having a linear progression through the magazine like we had in AV PDF, we have actually a 2-dimensional view of the magazine that is very similar to what we have in this in the project structure. So I can see my 2 articles. This is my vertical view. If I rotate my iPad, I get the horizontal view. I have a slideshow here with the same animation. And the same slideshow with a different framing of the objects here. I have a full screen image with a Kanban. So this is the mag rendering. I cannot zoom. So if I try to zoom on the page, it doesn't zoom. And simply you have then to create your content so that it really fits the iPad. I have more options. Like you've seen, this page has a little animation. This can be created in Mag using the InDesign animation properties, which is a sort of slightly more advanced subject, but I will simply show what happens here. This block of text, which has the title, is actually positioned to be animated using using a path. This is created using InDesign's interactivity features, so you can animate objects along a path. I can preview here what will happen in InDesign, and this is exactly what I get into the in my document. if I have a look now at the document on which I created a video, which I exported earlier, I have my button here. If I click on the button, it launches the video. So we've seen two ways of creating interactive elements. One which is very simple, the AV PDF way, starting with a print document and adding enrichments. And the other one which has maybe more options and lets you control a rendering in horizontal and vertical mode based on the AV mag format. Now in the few minutes that I have left, I would like to talk a little bit about ePUBs and what can be done with our plugin when it comes to generated ePUB. So if I go back to my print document, which I have enriched a little bit, if you remember, adding a slideshow, adding various little options, this document can be exported to ePUB. If I say generate, I have this option to go to ePUB. You may know that there are actually two flavors of ePUB. One which is called fixed layout and one which is called Reflow layout. Fixed layout simply means that the layout of the pages, the design that has been created for the pages will be preserved when going to ePUB. That means that the ePUB pages themselves will be rendered in such a way that it preserves the position of the images, the fonts, the various layouts of the blocks of text, etc. The Reflow layout, on the other hand, is the initial version of the ePUB release, what we are used to see when we read novels and text-based content. It's really a flow of text, words, and with some sort of layout, but very simple. You can have images, of course, but there is not a good control of what is displayed on the page, and the user also has the ability to change the font size. So it will completely change the layout of everything. But that's okay because it's mostly done for text-based content. So we support both variations of ePUB when you use the plugin. And I will show you simply what to do when you want to create each one of them. I'll start with fixed layout. So fixed layout, essentially, you simply, instead of choosing AVE, you simply choose ePUB as your option. And basically, we will preserve a number of things in your document, such as simple enrichments like videos, sounds, or HTML animations. We also preserve slideshows, and of course we preserve text. But to do that, you have to first of all ensure that your document describes the fonts that it uses, so that we can embed the fonts in the ePUB. So in preparation of exporting to ePUB, you have to go into the project properties panel. The project properties panel for each project in the project manager will let you see what are the options of the project. Things that we have set up in the beginning, like saying we are in AV PDF. And then other options that lets you control the rendering of and the generation of the document. Metadata, that's very important when you do ePUB because the document has to contain some sort of metadata. So here you can see you can specify title, author, publishers, a number of identifiers, languages that are all used in ePUB metadata. I can specify here, if I'm in ePUB, what's the maximum zoom that I authorize. And then here is the fonts panel. If I generate the project like this, the fonts will not be reproduced in ePUB because it will not have them. So in order to embed the font, you have to get them from the project. So you can click on that button, which will list all the fonts that are used by the project. And then you can, depending on the rights you have to the fonts, maybe, choose to embed one or the other or all of them. If you embed them, then you will get an exact rendering of your content. So selecting them all, in my case, will guarantee that my output will be good. So this is the first step before you go to ePUB. Then you simply work the same. You generate the project using ePUB as your output. And here there is a little tweak here, because in order to generate ePUB, you have to actually buy a license for that project. That means if you don't do it, it will generate something, but it will scramble all the letters after a few pages. If you want to actually use our tools, which are all free, to create ePUBs that you can then sell, we charge a license, which you can buy by following that link. So here my project is not in production. That means it is in test mode. If I pass it in production, because I have some licenses on my account, now it will generate properly. If I generate, it will simply go through the various steps, which I'm not going to show now. And after generating, I can simply export it into to iBooks, for example, as a test. I will show you this because this is an interesting part. So suppose I have generated that project, which I have done before I started. I will use exactly the same workflow to send my book to iBooks as a test bench. So I choose ePUB, from here, fixed layout, and then I choose my iPad mini. It will transfer the project to the iPad mini using exactly the same technique when I was using AV files, except that what is transferred here is an ePUB. Of course, myKiosk doesn't know how to open and read an ePUB, but it will let you transfer it very easily to iBooks. It's much easier to do it that way than try to generate a file and then go to iBooks directly. iBooks or any other ePUB reader that you have on your device. I will use iBooks for the demo. So it's taking a little while to transfer. But when it's done, I will get a cover, and you probably noticed that there is a little banner here that says that it's an ePUB, and actually it's a fixed layout ePUB. So I can't read it from here, but I can click on the button here that will open it in iBooks. Click on that button and it goes into iBooks. So here is my document. Very, very similar to what I had in InDesign. And everything is text. So we use images for the big images, but otherwise everything is coded as text. Because I embedded my fonts, I can have a very accurate text rendering. I can use the thesaurus, I can do copy paste between texts, etc. I had a slideshow in this location. As you can see, the slideshow is also preserved when I go to ePUB. That's the first way to actually create ePUBs in fixed layout, and not all the readers support that very well at the moment. You probably can get very good rendering on a Kobo reader or on iBooks. You have to check if you go to different readers whether they support fixed layout, which is a fairly new enhancement to ePUB. The other style of ePUB is the Reflow ePUB. And if I go back to my document, how would you create a reflowable version of that document, given the fact it's not this one, it's this one. How would you create a reflowable version of the document? Since reflow means basically a flow of text. So if you remember what we saw before, we talked about guided reading and how you can actually link boxes together. Well, this is exactly what we would use for that. So we would use the smart reading or guided reading enrichment to actually create links between boxes, even adding graphics in the path. And everything that is linked together becomes one chapter. So if I have a book or if I have a magazine like that with an article, with a series of articles, I can choose the parts that I want to include in my ePUB file by linking them together. And I can omit some parts if I want to, but I don't have to. I can add everything. And for every story that you create, it will add an entry in the table of content if you create a table of content. So the result of that, I will just show you directly in iBooks. It's a very different thing. It's, as you can see, it's text-based content, so I can change the font size. And it will basically display whatever I have whatever I have included in a story. So here, for example, I have this first part, which is the title, which you can see also in my InDesign document here. And this is actually very difficult to render in a reflowable ePUB. So what I did is turn that into an image, and it appears as an image. For all the rest is it's text, some images in between, and you see it preserves some of the rendering that I have. I can double tap on images to get full screen. This is done automatically for me. I don't have to do anything, except that we do the right thing so that the images, they appear in really good quality. So I've just done a few pages here. Of course, you can create big documents, of course. Starting from a complex document such as a magazine is going to take a little while until you link all those boxes. But if you start from documents that are more like books in chapters, it's actually very, very fast to do it, because you can use our automatic enrichment to create the links between the boxes. And it will automatically, if I select nothing here, it shows me that automatic enrichment creation. I can add text to recognition. I can create the guided reading automatically simply by picking the styles, for example, the paragraph styles for the titles, for the body. And if I have used styles, it's going to be very quick to identify those stories. And from there, I can create my ePUB. Okay, I will stop at that point and leave it open for questions. Just remind you about the documentation that's available online, as well as all the tools that you can download from our website. And we are looking forward to your feedback. Thank you very much. Okay, apparently most of the questions have been handled directly. So please, if you need more information, go either use our forum or our help desk, or contact us directly to get the information you need, and happy creation with our tools. Goodbye.